you know what makes me sad? I think he's our new generation of Dagda, where like every single player is like, this guy's great, but then the results just aren't there.
Yeah. Mickey, like after week 2, and we had dinner, he was flaming our draft so much. He's saying, you guys draft so bad, and then we go against G2 and they draft Ivern, Karma, Rel, Smolder. And this boy has the audacity to yap in my face about drafts. Like, I don't know.
Welcome everyone to episode 9 of the EUphoria podcast. As always, we're available on YouTube, SoundCloud, Spotify, and Apple Podcasts.
This week we brought in Vin to talk all things playoffs, a little bit on the patch notes, and just to find out how crazy he is at mathematics.
He's very good at mathematics, I can confirm that. We also had a brief but important eulogy for both Casey and Rogue. He gave a wondrous speech, and you can check it out. It's going to be coming your way right now.
Let's go!
Welcome, Finn, to a brand new episode of EUphoria. It's good to have you back. I can't decide if we loaned you to Rogue or if Rogue is now loaning you to us.
There's some kind of deal happening.
Yeah. We
sure
just trade you back and forth.
The definition of it is. But
so I'm glad to have you here.
Yeah.
But I think we're also we're sad to have you here too. You know, we could have, we had you once already when you were coming in. It was hype. It was exciting. Bringing you back now for your analytical perspective. Maybe less on Rogue, more on the rest of the league.
I'm checking out Finn the player, and I'm checking in Finn the analyst.
Yeah,
and I'm back now. Like it's like no time has changed.
Thank you for the sound effects.
100% locked in.
We don't need anything in post except for fixing me.
We'll just.
It feels very easy to be doing this again now. Like it feels very easy. Obviously very sad and very heartbroken over the season. Like I really thought we would actually push it through. After we beat G2, we beat SK, coming in all the momentum in the tiebreaker. I think we had a really good early game, but then I think we just kind of crumbled under pressure in the tiebreaker. We just messed up our mid game too much, and we kind of blew our chances. Like we had 7 games to win. So the tiebreaker is just like a result of that. Like we lost so many games before that. We can't really be too mad about it. I think you don't really deserve to make playoffs with a 3-6 record anyway. So a lot of things went wrong, but I do see like what the ideal of a good Rogue team looked like at a few times. Like a lot of people hated Rogue, obviously. I think you included. Like hated watching us play. Hated casting us.
Yeah, that's true. I've said all those things. Now that you're here, I'm not afraid. As long as you're here, it feels rude if you're not here and I can't say it to someone on the team. It feels like I'm doing you dirty.
But like I think there are games that showed like what Rogue would look like if Rogue was a really good team. Like you look at our G2 game or our first SK game or K-Cup game. Like we had good games, but in the end, we just weren't able to produce those kinds of performances consistently. I did some good stuff on scrims, but it was that transition in the first week that really caught up to us in the last week, and that's kind of, we just paid the price now, and I think we just have to try to refocus for summer. Obviously, it's a long time until there, but...
I will say, Rogue got a lot more exciting to watch over the course of the season. I'm not going to mince words on the start of the season or on winter. That shit was boring. I did not enjoy casting Rogue, but... towards the end there, and even the start of your tiebreaker match, I was like, damn, you guys are getting away with murder on this Smolder in the bot lane. And then I think some of those old habits where you guys maybe weren't as confident in putting your foot
definitely felt like we fell into the old Rogue in that game, which was
a bummer
sad.
Because we saw the new Rogue at the start of the day, and I was like, oh shit, SK doomed.
They're gonna be trouble. That Viego game is sick for Marcoon.
Yeah, shout out to Marcoon. Marcoon really showed up on the last day, and then it's sad. We'll go get you guys back.
We'll be back soon, I guess.
Oh my God, Southern Finn, we've missed you.
Get your grubs now.
get your grubs now. Yeah, it's a bit. We'll see kind of how it adapts. Obviously, a lot of time until summer. You guys get a break now. We'll see if you shape up. I hope for everyone on the team's sake that you guys can show us more of like what the Rogue that could have been.
We have a lot of time to shape it now, right? We have a lot of time to actually focus on like what we need to do better, because we had issues. Like, let's be real.
I'm not here. Not here to just run through your entire team and be like, all right, Finn, one at a time. Marcoon, why does he suck?
That
Larson,
guy,
why does he suck? Oh my God.
Don't get
Let it out. Air the dirty
man.
laundry, Finn. Now's the time. Roast them all.
Let's not do that. Let's talk about something else. Let's talk about not Rogue for now.
No, we got a whole hour.
We got a whole hour. It's about Rogue. We just need you. This is actually
I think we should move on. Like
we just this is intervention. We're not actually recording this. It's not really a podcast. We just knew that this was the format to get you to come in and talk.
Yeah, the door is locked.
We're just trying to Finn. We need to talk about your team. Rogue. One of two teams, obviously not to make it the other being KC. I think Rob and I were casting those last games, and we were kind of really hopeful that we would get the full all the tiebreakers, the crazy gauntlet with you guys at the top.
The five men.
Yeah. The three-way tie by the end of the day.
I was like, if that would happen, we would actually be locked 6th place. How crazy is that?
Crazy, yeah.
Which is
just
nuts.
leapfrog
Just
off.
because we beat G2. Because it's like the strength of victory score. Like, and we beat like the number
It's the
one.
power they hold, man.
It's like weird how all things point to beating G2 as like the sole source of clout. Like you can get first in the season, or you can beat G2. That's how you get
like
clout.
just
because
we beat G2, we like pushed her first to the line. That's crazy. But
yeah, Casey kind of also collapsed at the last hurdle, man. I mean, it's a super sad story. I think Kometo came out, and I'm paraphrasing someone else's translation of, I believe, a Kometo stream clip.
Translating to Chinese and then back to English.
Yeah,
you get a full different.
Yeah, so I don't want to put words in Kometo's mouth, but from the kind of what seems to be going around in the information that he has said, it seems like they are keen to make changes. This is not going to be like, all right, one more time, one more run back. It was, first we thought maybe it's Yamato or the team needed more time to click. Now we think maybe it's more time. No, I don't know if it's going to be scorch and burn. I don't know who's staying, but it's very clear that Casey
Yeah, they need changes.
The new Casey will be showing
Casey
itself.
have been like clear that they're aiming high, right? They're not here to be a 10th place team. They're not here to do the bare minimum. So I think they want to be held to those standards as well. So obviously they'll probably look to the changes for sure. Like they want to try to reach the top.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, shout out to the KC fans. It's like, obviously it's one of those things where they're very polarizing. You either like love KC or you love to hate KC just because of how passionate that fan base is. But like, it does make me sad the more. Like at a certain point, it is just sad where we like come in and there's this crazy dedicated group of fans like every single week cheering their hearts out, and you're just watching their team lose. Like,
I mean, even right
I feel bad for them. Like I feel bad for the players. Don't get me wrong, but I feel bad for them too because it's like you guys are like at a 10 every day, just watching your team get dismantled.
Yeah, I mean, even in the last game against BDS, where it was clear that it was over, you could still hear them going nuts and just try
even more nuts.
Like
every player on stage looks like absolute despair, depression, and they're just continuing to cheer louder. Like they're the sole source of hope for this team.
It's gonna be a nice redemption story, though. Like I'm sure, once they're gonna be good, eventually, Casey will be good. I think.
I mean,
maybe
we will
not this
see.
year, maybe next year.
I'm not going to sell anything until we see what the roster's got, but I hope that they can step up.
No,
because you said it. I don't think any team is aiming for 10th place or coasting, but I think obviously Casey wanted to be at the very least toe-to-toe with MDK, and that has not been the case thus far.
I did beat MDK this split.
They did, though. Yeah, that's important.
Technically
Got embarrassed the first split, but now they're 1-1. And if they never go to playoffs, they never have to play best of 3. So they can just finish this regular season best of 1, best of 3 at the end of the year, and then who's laughing now? All they have to do one game. And then you're technically better than eBay, just a little bit. Yeah. Rest in peace, Rogue and Casey. Your hearts will go on, or in this case, your top laner, Rogue, as he joins us. Patch 14.6 is the other thing that's kind of coming into this week. A lot of small changes, a ton of small changes. The first one I think we can hit is just Smolder nerfs, because Smolder was the center of attention in the first few weeks. Looked kind of useless in week 3. Like, it's looked worse and worse as the split has gone on. But now, on top of the hotfix that came through in week 2, there are now nerfs coming into what is week 4, what is coming into our playoffs. Finn, how do you feel about Smolder?
So I think the problem with Smolder is like, from a drafting standpoint, fundamentally, it really sucks to first pick him, because you're first picking a weak laner, and that means you're first picking a weak champion, and the enemies can counterpick the other lanes as well, like if you're blue side. So that means usually you want to use your first pick to guarantee like a strong champion, right?
Yeah.
Like a center point of your draft that you can build around. But by first picking a weak scaling champion, don't get me wrong, Smolder is really obnoxious later on, but he is a weak champion early. But you can end up in drafts where you end up with very, very few options early game. And I think for many teams that are used to like having a lot of options early game, I think Vitality, G2, even MDK to some degree, they like drafting strong early games where there are options. They're like, they can pressure dives on both sides, enemy jungle doesn't know where to cover, and then they strike in the end. Stuff like this. With Smolder, it's just impossible to play like this. So that's, I think, you notice as well, when we played against G2, we were like, okay, if we want to beat G2, we give them Smolder, and we try to beat them in the early game.
Be quick,
yeah. And that actually worked, because
that worked very well.
Yeah. I think, but it is like Smolder probably did go down. I think eventually people are gonna realize that, okay, maybe as a 2-3 pick on blue side, it's gonna be very solid. Kind of like in the past where like you would see Seri Lulu or Lucianami every game. I think Smolder might take this kind of position in draft where you just pick it, as a filler pick in draft. You just pick an AD carry that's just gonna be fine. You're not gonna play for him early game, but he will be super strong later on. We'll see. After the nerfs, maybe he'll die though.
Yeah, I'm curious because basically the changes are, instead of getting that 0.025% per stack, he's just hard locked now at a 6.5% execute rate. And at 225 stacks, he would have 7.625%. So basically, he's already nerfed as soon as he gets to 225 execute. But I still think he's got obnoxious AoE, like wave clear is insane. Like there's still a lot that's good about this champion. I just don't think he'll be as stupid as he was.
Yeah, I mean, looking at the patch rundown, which from Freak, and he always does these on YouTube to kind of talk about, he's a big numbers guy, obviously talk about the balance team's perspective. He said this is a lot about optics because players feel like and perceive Smolder to be miserable. And I get why. Like, we have definitely exacerbated that problem in the catch. Because this champion, when it does stuff, it just looks like the least interactive, dumbest champion I've ever seen in my entire life. But he's like, look, like the win rate isn't actually that great. It's just that this champion is permaban. Like, no one is even willing to like try to play against Smolder because people in solo queue, because people just think this champion is disgusting. But I think what we've seen in pro is like, even if you hadn't nerfed that stuff, like I'm looking at the last 7 Smolder games in our league, and the only person who won was Supa.
Yeah. No, I think definitely will went down in prior throughout like the weeks, and I think it's gonna disappear now for playoffs almost fully, in my opinion. Maybe we'll come back in the future because I assume this is gonna tank his win rate a lot. He's probably gonna get some compensation buffs in the future, and then we're gonna see a more stable version of Smolder. Yeah, because the one right now is just like infinite scaling, and horrible early game, and this is like a weird prototype of champion. I think they reduced the scaling a lot with removing the scaling execute threshold, which is stupid in my opinion. Yeah, you can't like have a scaling execute threshold and insane wave clear. That's like a dangerous combo to have in any game. But the fact that they actually fixed the execution threshold, I think is going to make him a bit more healthy late game. You saw people were going like double lockets to deal with the Smolder AoE. I think that's kind of smart. People were resourceful and they're figuring out stuff to deal with it. We'll see. Yeah, it's kind of crazy, the double locket thing, especially because obviously after the initial locket you get hugely reduced effectiveness, but at the same time it's like
just so much value.
You just need to not hit that threshold, health threshold, right? Or you just insta die. So I mean, it worked, and I think the big thing for me is it's just like it just hasn't looked good, right? Like even the single Supa game, it was the single game that BDS were like, that's right guys, BDS, we're gonna play a different style. We're not gonna play a scaling aid carry. We're playing Callista. And you're instantly like, yeah, okay, BDS evolution, and they like 2 minutes in the game, you're like, no,
that game,
like,
no, you're just like, guys, I respect you, absolutely should try new things, and I want you to evolve, and you've said you want to evolve. This isn't it, bro. Back to the drawing boards.
That game was so sad to watch. I remember I was watching this game. I remember it so vividly now because BDS were like perma threatening bot dives, and Elyoya was just sitting there covering every dive. And they were just sharing every wave as free, Elyoya, Supa, Alvaro. But then, like, eventually BDS got, like, bored. They're like, it's kind of boring. Let's just dive it. Let's just try diving 4v4. And they just lost the game. Like, they were doing so well. They were, like, shocking us so well, stacking dragons, and then just got bored of winning.
I mean,
I don't know.
Not to dwell too much on that game, but I hope BDS will keep trying that stuff because, again, I think that if we see a BDS who just regresses, it's not as exciting.
No, but like, the BDS first 8 minutes of that game was super clean. They were like threatening always the dive, making sure Elyoya had to sit under tower, farming that wave with Supa Alvaro. Yeah. I think Ice was like level 8 to Supa's level 6, just because of Elyoya sitting there the entire game.
Yeah. I think the only other changes in this one that feel big, there's a lot of small changes. A lot of tanks are buffed. I don't think it's super going to matter. Maybe you have a different opinion based on solo queue. I don't know. I feel like tanks are always more pro play skewed than solo play skewed anyway, and a little bit of AD carry scaling buffs, and the other one is the Doran's changes. No more backing as a jungler and buying a Doran's blade first back. No more starting a Doran's item as a support. You cannot build a support item or a jungle item, and you can either build a Doran's item, a jungle item, or a support item. You can never build one on top of that. So that I think is a significant change for early game.
Yeah, the other one that gets me is the Karma one. Like Karma has just got gutted. Because like so much of her playstyle was mantra Q. You hit 3 people when you're like say 2 items in, and you're just going to be able to completely refund to your mantra again. So you just get 2 rotations of your ult off. But the cooldown refund is gone. The other one is the inner flame cost going up. Yeah, because this was the thing that annoyed me for so long. Was like every time you played against her, it was 45 mana for that ultimate and Q, every time the wave clear was absolutely insane. You just never run out of mana.
And if you rush Lost Chapter, like you never have any issues. Like,
exactly.
You can just throw it out on repeat.
So at least now it actually has a mana cost. So it's not going to be just like, hey, I can brain off wave clear and not worry about it. So I'm really happy that she's kind of taken a hit because I only got to see it a little bit in LEC, but I think she's just so busted, especially if you're able to play around the Malignant spike. So having her out is just great.
I hate it. I think we suck at it. I'm so sad about it. Like, I watch Karma anywhere else in the world. I'm like, damn, you can see the value. And I've seen some games where the Karma pops off and she gets to live the absolute power fantasy of just Mantra Q, Mantra Q, Mantra Q, Mantra Q. But mostly what I see is just like you push waves and then Karma just throws 1 or 2 Mantra Qs, gets engaged on, and the entire team instantly loses. I feel like our mid laners. I feel like teams have probably done really well in scrims. Maybe you can talk about this. Like, Karma to me feels a little bit like the same way that like Lucian does, where like the theory of how good it is definitely there. Unlike Lucian, I think it's really simple. It's Mantra Q. But I think that when you watch how teams use it in mid game, people just like back away from it. It never looks like you're getting like the highlight reel montage Karma Q moment.
Yeah, I think Karma, like right now, why she's so strong is because ultimate haste is applied before ability haste. It's not multiplicative, it's additive. Which means that your ultimate ability haste gets applied, and then you apply the normal ability haste on top of that afterwards. So it's not like
you're not getting reduced effectiveness of either.
Exactly, So basically what happens is you go Ultimate Hunter, Malignance, and you have basically every time you hit the Mantra Q, you have almost Mantra up again. And what that means is as long as you keep hitting Mantra Qs, it keeps running the ult cooldown and you can keep spewing them out. But I feel like a lot of people just are a bit careless with their Mantra Qs. I think there's a responsibility on the Karma player to hit the Mantra Q. I mean, that sounds very Korean advice, but like if you miss the Mantra Q, you're basically playing with a mid laner without damage and you don't even have support items or Karma, so like your shields are like not that useful anyway. So it's very important that you play well with your Mantra Qs, and I think people aren't really used to having this sort of responsibility playing Karma. They were like a bit more,
also
I'm playing Karma, I can just throw my Qs.
In lane phase, it's like you're either hitting them or you're hitting the wave. It's impossible to miss the ability, right?
But like when you're dancing around rivers, like you gotta be more careful. You can't just throw that ability out.
I will say there's less mana growth, there's less mana regen, inner flame cost is up, and the cooldown refund is down from 5 seconds to 4 seconds. So as well as the alt cooldown at max rank being up 3 seconds. So it's like they've hit it a little bit in a lot of different areas. But if people have really been doing well with scrims and Karma, I still think we'll see it. It'll just be harder for it to have good games, which to me means it'll probably look really bad on stage because I think we've only seen a couple of really good Karma mid games this split. I think we've seen a lot of games where Karma mid looks like, why would you pick this over Talia or an Ahri? Or like, why would you pick this over something that has setup?
I see a lot of Karma in playoffs. Maybe some guy, but like
I think it's gone. I think maybe we'll see it in LPL or LCK a little bit, but I don't think we'll get it here anymore.
So with tanks getting buffs, there's some small buffs to IE Arcsman. I think maybe we see a tiny shift, but I honestly don't expect too much this patch. I will say that one champion who's untouched, who teams have been split on, we've kind of been split on behind the scenes, is Vi. I'd love to get your takes on Vi, because I think that we've seen blue side first pick Vi, and it's like, it doesn't do anything. We've also seen the crazy games where like Vi just starts one-shotting the AD carry, gets ahead, and then like looks like it's over. But we've seen both extremes, and I'm not sure I understand like what exactly is the context in which teams really want to play Vi, other than like point and click.
I do have a question before we go into this, and this is going to sound really flamey, but it is a genuine question. Was Xayah banned in LEC? Because I didn't get a note on it, but apparently she was banned in the EMEA level.
Some people,
or the Masters level.
Not you mean that she's not allowed to be picked?
She's not admin disabled.
Global banned. She's not admin disabled.
Well, apparently she wasn't allowed to be picked in a couple of the European regional leagues. So that's why I wasn't sure.
She was enabled. But some people were banning it. I think against GX it was banned 1-3 one game. But other than that,
that's what I thought.
It's been banned 4-5 a few times. In general, I think Xayah has struggled a bit because the other AD carries are just so strong in her lane. It's hard to play Xayah against Kalista Renata. It's hard to play against Varus, for example. It's very impressive for Xayah with like all the difficulty. She really goes up in prio maybe when like there's 4 or 5 AD carry bans, which is quite common these days. But Well, I think the problem with Vi is that she's very comfortable to first pick because you can build any comp around her because she gives you engage. And she gives you like, she can do most things. She can peel okay. She can go deep fairly well. But some junglers like are really, really hesitant to pick Vi early because they feel like, oh, if enemy just drafts like Tahm Kenches and Sayas, like I'm gonna be mega useless. I just feel like I think she's just such an easy first pick because she can do everything. But some junglers are really scared of those Sayas and Tahm Kenches, and it kind of like shifts. It really depends on the jungler's mindset, I think, like what they're willing to do with it.
Yeah, because my head is more on the, hey, you go Xayah, you can go Tahm Kench, you can have an answer to it. And I do think it's a little bit underutilized because I know she struggles against like Faris and Kliss and stuff, but 9 times out of 10, they're banned.
Yeah.
Right? Like when you look at what's been our draft so far, the split. So I think she has had moments where she could actually shine. And I don't think people are thinking of her because they're like, oh, she is useless because of these champions. And then as well, but I do think like Vi can be very strong, especially if she's against someone like Zeri. Yeah. It's just like, screw this champion.
I was gonna say that because so basically, from what I understand, talking to other pro players, champions like Zeri and Smolder, there's 2 champions that can deal with them. There's Vi and Nautilus because they have target CC that follows them like wherever they're dashing away. So if Zeri and Smolder are in the game, Vi and Nautilus are very, very strong because you can actually lock these champions down. Without Vi or Nautilus, it's like impossible to kill these champions. Like you can't well combo with Zeri or Smolder with like 1,000,000 movement speed flapping around.
Yeah.
So I think that is why Vi probably has been high enough because the Zeri and Smolder. I think it might go down if the AD carry meta changes a bit.
I just think that the problem that I have with it is obviously teams haven't been as quick to pull out the quote unquote Vi counter pick stuff like the Xayah, stuff like the Tahm Kench. But for me, it's just very often it feels like it doesn't do anything pre-6. And I think there are games where it really looks like it can gank. But what we've seen a lot of teams do is just like, all right, you pick Vi, we pick Xin. And I just like, you don't play early game.
I mean, the classic is like the Vi Rakan, which is like you chill and then level 6, boom, you start scrapping everything.
Yeah, and I respect that, but I just feel like, once the games where Vi gets ahead, Vi looks like insane. I think Razork had one of these games on Vi where he absolutely popped off. I don't remember who it was against. Similarly, he had a game against BDS where Sheo just invades him, right, as Xin. And admittedly, like Razork is standing somewhere where he shouldn't. This is not a Vi problem. This was Razork made a mistake, right? Dies, gets behind, and now Xin looks like the most broken champion in the game. No one can touch him because he's ahead of the clock, and Vi just does nothing.
But it was like if the mid meta changes, like because now Azir has been disabled, right? Vi Azir is not really a great combo, but Vi Ahri, Vi Talia,
Azir's back.
Very strong, very strong. Azir's back.
Azir's back 14-6. From what I have read, assuming that we are playing on the, I got updates. Azir's back, which might change a lot.
So like if people are playing Orianna, Wei, Azir, I think Vi probably is a bit lower because you combo. So like the 2v2s with Vi are a lot weaker with these champions because they don't have as good follow up on Vi. If I ult someone and like flash under tower, these champions can't follow. And then Vi is super deep. She's gonna get like shuffled behind the tower. And like Wei can't follow, but if there's like an Ahri or Talia, they can like combo off the Vi ult very easily, and it's just a kill almost every time. We'll see what happens with the mid meta with Azir back. It's very interesting to see.
I think it's hilarious because like the biggest change to pro play is not anything listed in the 14.6 patch notes. It's literally just Azir's back.
Azir's back, baby.
Yeah. Probably, right? Like it's just how many teams have just relied on Azir to carry them for late game. It's actually crazy. This is the only reason we haven't seen Azir in pro for the first time forever is because he's actually just disabled.
What team do you think got hurt most by Azir's disablement?
That's a great question, Finn.
Yeah.
My instant instinct would be to say BDS, but that's a very good question.
You know what my thought was?
What?
I thought MDK.
You think MDK?
Because I think when I looked back at MDK's deep run in playoffs, I remember so many times Frisco just farming super strong and like split pushing with Azir, getting tier 2 towers while the enemy team is overgrouping. And he's doing so much for the games. I feel like MDK used Azir very much in their playoff run. I can't remember like how many games they played, but I feel like they were playing so much Azir.
Yeah, let's just look at Azir. Most recent games. Let's see who's been spamming it. And
I think it's either BDS or MDK. Looking at it,
I think Nuke has branched out more, but I think
for MDK,
the way that BDS like to play the game and have historically played the game, it's just such a fantastic pick. It's also just disgusting. Like when the champion is good, it's so good. It's the only mid laner in the game, in my eyes, who can both scale into infinity essentially and make plays at level 6.
Yeah.
What is Hoya level 6? Nothing. Orianna level 6, entirely dependent on like Orianna good lane phase. Like all these champions have different strengths, right? But like Orianna Shockwave, way less reliable.
I mean, she's just a support realistically at that stage because she has no damage in the ult. It's just like I will ult to pull people back.
It's like okay,
Zins out will actually kill you.
He just has. Why does he get to make plays and then also be one of the best control mages in the game? And I guess it's because he has a high skill cap, but like. You're not in my normal games or my solo queue, right? Like we're in pro play. Like people have hands, they can play Azir. This champion is so good.
It's like, oh, you're playing as Azir and you don't have flash? Oh, you can't walk up for 5 minutes. Because if he's the jungler behind you, you just die. Yeah. Legit.
Yeah. I mean, he's the best assassin in pro play. What the hell? How did it happen? You know, like we're never going to see Zed, but we will see Azir against an enemy without flash look just as scary. Yeah, it's so obnoxious. I like him, like to watch, but from a pro play perspective, yeah. Frescowie, Nuke, Caps, the last people to just spam him. Niski busted him out as well, but it's
Is G2 then it actually? Because Caps used to just play it all the time. And then they don't have that hey, we fell behind early. We're just going to stick Caps in side lane.
Yeah, we'll hold it for a second.
It does just feel like it's the get out of jail free card.
Remember Azir is coming back because I want to hit more on those topics soon. Sure. Let's go to the community question. So the question this week was kind of like, who do you think is going to surprise us in playoffs? We asked on YouTube community tab as well as on Twitter this week. So thanks to everybody who gave us answers. Let's kick off with, let's put the SK ones together.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'll do the nice one and then you do the very simple one.
Okay.
All right. At Darkianal something 5886. Generic YouTube name. SK will find their farm. Irrelevant is the GOAT top lane. Niski will find his form back and lead the rest of the team through mid and late. A lot of optimism. Mm-hmm. I think many perspectives of fans are better summed up by your Twitter comment here, Rob.
Yeah. From Forstern C. SK will either get kicked out first or make a deep run, which I just feel encompasses all of
the entire season for SK. Yeah. I'm not optimistic about SK.
No.
I think that, to be honest, like, they threw so many games. There's a world where if they hadn't thrown so many games, like, we could have had more confidence in them, but they did. And even the game they played against you guys, I think if you had put your foot on the gas, like, they should have been out of that game in a lot of ways. And Irrelevant did turn it on in that final game. Like, a lot of people did show up. Niski felt like finally woke up. He did not play very well most of this weekend. Which is surprising because I think that he had been, even in the losses, one of the better players. Yeah. But yeah, he got blasted.
I mean, my opinion of SK is pretty low. I think if Irrelevant is not popping off, they don't really have any pressure points.
Yeah.
I feel like Irrelevant really is the only thing that gives them an edge over other teams. And if Irrelevant is not in his best, I think Irrelevant is like really, really good. He's smurfing out of his mind lately.
Yeah.
I mean, he entered the first game against us, but then he smurfed the second game against us.
He did.
Like,
yep.
Yeah. There were a couple of games. It was a week too. Everything's burned together. I'm not going to lie, but like where he was just so separated from his team, and it felt like he was just almost frustrated with the way he was playing. Was just like we should be going in here. I mean, what the hell are we doing?
Yeah, there was some suspect.
Was it week 3? Yeah.
I mean, week 2 as well. Like week 2 was just depression central, right? Where they were just like they were supposed to win so many games that week, and then they just kept throwing.
Yeah, but it's nice to see him back playing is so well because it was kind of heartbreaking. You could just see it was like this team just is all over the place. No one really knows what they want to do, but that's why I don't really feel like I have faith in SK to pull it all together. It feels like there's just too many issues on the team, and being able to set up the plays that they want to or being able to play a strong mid game, they're just so separated. I just don't feel like they can bring it back.
It'll be tough. We'll talk about their matchup coming up shortly, but unsurprisingly, teams were keen to pick SK in the draw. The next one. You do your Vitality one. We'll save the absolute, just the hate train that this last guy is trying to start here.
So from Dawnbreaker VT, Vitality, mediocre performance in winter to coming blasting out of the gates in spring. I'm excited to see what they can do. Dagda seems to be stepping up his game too, which is really nice to see.
Yeah, how do you feel about Vitality? We've talked a lot of back and forth about Vitality on the podcast. But what is your thoughts? We need a new perspective on Vitality.
I don't know. Like it's so hard to judge Vitality because they're in scrims.
I'm so glad it's
and then they go on stage and they're like kind of playing good. But you're like,
isn't this just the case for literally every like Mac pad team? I feel like every time we talk about a Mac pad team, they're sprinting, or maybe
I think that's more Carsey Hillisang.
It's Carsey Hillisang. I'm trying to figure out who it is because it's like I didn't want to say it's a Mad Lions thing, right? Because they're part of a new organization, but it's like I think that particular group of people has been notorious for sprinting it in scrims forever, and then they would say like, oh, we've had the worst week of scrims of our life, and then they'd show up on stage and just like 3-0 somebody.
Yeah.
Right. So
I mean, I don't know. It's just against Vitality, they're really good at punishing sloppiness on stage. And they're really clutch in the mid game, I think, and late game. They do it way better than most LEC teams. I think most LEC teams are like solid early games, and then they're really lost in the mid game. I would say Vitality is like the opposite of that. They're like really lost in the early game sometimes. They like enemies get like 2k leads for no reason at all. But then in the mid game, they just like come back. They make good picks and they have good solid understanding of that side lane. And I think Photon and Karsi are playing really, really good. Especially I think Karsi is like giga smurfing right now actually.
I think Karsi's doing well. Yeah. I think Photon is playing super. I think
Photon's really impressive.
Photon has been really impressive. Yeah. I think he's always been solid, but obviously top lane can sometimes be a quiet role. Like
top lane, like your form will vary a lot depending on like the meta and the patch and your team's performance. And sometimes you look like you're a god, and sometimes you have rough patches of games, and that's just normal, I think.
Yeah, but their game against G2 this week was, I mean, Photon rightfully so. You know,
I'm trying to remember it.
Jace, Rel, I'll show you there.
This is the top. Yeah. This was the Jace versus Zac matchup.
Oh yeah. They stumped them.
Yeah. And
but why would you blind pick Zac? Like,
I agree. This felt. We'll get to G2 when we get to G2. To me, this was just like mad disrespectful. On the top side, but Photon played super well. Douglas, I think, as a result of Photon playing well, was there at the perfect time to get some early kills, transition that to bot lane. I think some people are maybe over eager to attribute the individual skills of Vitality's laner to Douglas being really great. I don't think Douglas is bad, but I think people need to slow down a little bit. Yeah. I think Douglas is working better with the team, but let's take it one step at a time. Because that to me was like the product of the laners just smashing a lot this weekend. And yeah, that game was not close. Not close at all. So I'm optimistic, but I carry the same concern, I think, for any Hilly Karsi roster, any Hilly Karsi Mac Pad roster. I know their ceiling is insane, but what version we would get of the team on the day is always kind of questionable. Do you guys feel like best of 3 is better for them? Do you feel like
100%? Yeah. 100%. I think Vitality would be a scary team to play on in best of 1s. I don't know what's gonna happen in the bot lane. I don't know what's gonna happen in top lane. I guess it's like weird. I don't know if you remember our game against them. It was like a 45-minute banger with like Smolder, like double Elder or some shit.
Oh my god.
But I don't know if you remember that game. But I was like, I feel like a lot of their games they go kind of banger alerts. Like there's a lot of kills from both sides.
There's a lot of kills. There's a lot. I mean, like there were a lot of games where. Some of the games where they got leads, you were like, damn, this team, and like really good leads in the mid game, they played super well and they'd close out super clean. But then if it was sloppy or scrappy, like I feel like the second team start fighting, Vitality is fighting.
That's what I'm saying. I feel like if Vitality plays against a team that gets like a good lead and then with discipline finishes out, like in BDS kind of style way, I feel like BDS would be a really good matchup for like I think BDS would do really good against Vitality. I don't know who is Vitality playing the first week.
I think Vitality finished top 2 alongside Fnatic, and I believe that of their pool, they got pick of any of the 2 teams at the bottom, and in this case, they picked SK.
Yeah, I mean that sounds like a good matchup for Vitality. I think Vitality might just devour them.
Yeah.
But I wonder to see like how Vitality will play if people actually learn how to snowball better against them, because I feel like the early game is very sloppy and very inconsistent.
Yeah, definitely. We saw that in a few instances, right, where the final day they played this fantastic game with Hylissang on Rakan, and it felt like he was everywhere. And then the day before they played this Braum game where there's just a lot of sloppy catches. You know what I mean? There's just a lot of instances where people are dying where they don't need to be dying, contesting vision when they, they can, but like why you don't need to. And also like the value proposition isn't there. You know what I mean? It's like if there's someone in the bush waiting to kill you, you give up a ton of pressure for nothing. If there's no one there, you get a ward. Like sick. But yeah. So I'm optimistic on this side, especially in the context of the matchup that they play, which we'll break down a little bit more as we get into it with some specifics. But overall, I think Vitality they're going to make a deep run.
Yeah. I like how flexible they are in draft. I think it's really cool to see that they're bringing out like the Camille support. We saw the AD TF for Karsi. Like it feels like they've got a lot of things to bring to the table, and that always excites me with a team
like
where
the
they're like, we can
top
play
lane.
a lot of different styles. Yeah,
Smolder top.
Yeah, that was great. That was wonderful.
Smolder top.
Smolder top was really hype in scrims for like 2 days.
Yeah. All I'm saying is the other time they played. That's when they played SK and they lost. If you just don't look at the draft or the context of the game, SK own the head-to-head. That's all I'm saying. Something to consider.
100% win rate in spring.
It's so funny. It's not like people can play Smolder top into like K'Sante Udyr because you like stack on him perma. And then people were like, what if we do it against everything? And then people were like, let's not do that. Let's not do that.
Look, I understand. Yeah. Sometimes the theory crafting goes too far.
It's so funny because we have 3 days of scrims, right?
Yeah,
and
yeah.
Like the first day, everyone's like, Smolder top. Oh my God. They do, but never mind. And then week 3, crickets. Like,
Smolder tops up.
That's what I was like, because like even in the game, I just saw the Smolder get locked in, and I was like, this feels to me like the Shy when I was casting in LPL, where he has pulled out something that like worked really well in scrims, and the second you see it in pro player, like this is gonna fail miserably.
Dude, when I was in Excel, we scrimmed the Shy's team. We were bootcamping in Korea. It was so annoying. I like playing with a little Jeep, and there's like stereo top. Aphelios top. I'm like,
Kalista top.
Can you be normal?
Like, I need good practice. I don't know what I'm supposed to. People are like, you got to practice against the Shy. You're like, yeah, I learned a lot about the Zeri Ornn matchup.
Yeah.
Like, what great pride. What an honor.
I learned that Zeri can one shot my GP barrels with like auto, like the Q and the auto, like the zap.
It just one shots GP.
Yeah.
Oh my God, that's so
obnoxious. I'm just like.
But he's cooking though. You can see the theory in his head. You can see it.
And then I'm like, okay, I'm just gonna cue you.
Yeah, it's not like he picks it. It's not like you pick stuff for random reason or any top laner does. It's that usually you're a little lost in the sauce. That's what happens. You're like, there's some specific thing about the matchup or that the champion does that like in your perfect scenario in your head is really good. Yeah. But then making that manifest on stage is often
like he'd
tricky.
started off at like Iceborne Victor and stuff, and you're like, oh, this is in top, and you're like, that kind of okay, I can kind of see you cooking a little bit. Yeah. Then it went to like Anivia and Azir, and then I was like, you need to pull it back. It's AD Nidalee or Iceborne Condit Nidalee. Yeah, he had a his Kalista top was legit. The Lethality Kalista top was actually kind of sick.
Dude, he put that was 2020 summer split, right? He put a chokehold on all of EOS. Like everyone started playing Kalista top because
this is the worst. Yeah. This is the scariest thing about any other region's playoffs or top players is they can just ruin our solo queue. They're just like just one stage game with a weird pick destroys EU West.
I love the idea of the LCK council gets together.
And it's like,
what are we doing? Why are we ruining the US?
This week, the Shy will play Aphelios top.
You will let him win.
One more. We will let him win. One more week ruin for EU West solo queue. Slowly, we will degrade their region. They will never taste victory again.
I just remember like seeing the Shy stomp with Kalista top in LPL, and then the next day we're screaming like Origin, and I'm like playing his upset roll swapping top with Kalista, like hitting me on the tower, and then Alphara is laning bot. I'm like, guys, is it really that good? As you guys are gonna roll swap Alphara to bot lane and upset top just to play Kalista top? Oh my God.
Was it that good? You were in the scrim?
I couldn't lane. Like I was playing Aatrox against Kalista, trying to hit the Q. It's like
you're never hitting anything.
It's like
you need a bigger AoE. It's like literally.
It's like trying to I had like a fly swatter and he was like a machine gun. I don't know. It was not fair. It was not fair at all.
Yeah. So it's just trying to hit a fly with your bare hand basically. So I feel like it's very unlikely unless the fly is dumb, which most flies are. Close to players.
Maybe.
Usually smarter. Usually. It's 50-50, usually smarter. The last one, the absolute salt. Every once in a while we have to get in there, get into the salt mines, find someone who's just a little angry. Dr. Ducky 250. Fnatic will surprise everyone by bustering out. Well, maybe not angry, but a hater. Will surprise everyone by bustering out like the fraudulent team that they are. All aboard the Noah, Jun, Oscarin, and hate train. Humanoid and Razork are in ELO hell. Yeah, I don't know who hurt you, bro, but like,
I think there's three people
that hurt him. I don't think it was
Fnatic.
I don't think it was Noah, Jun, and Oscar. I think you might be taking it a little too personal. I think Fnatic are good. I also think that it's crazy that like Razork's great. I still think Razork is has had last split was our best jungler, I stand by, and I think this split has still been really good. But I think he's had a couple buster. I'm using this guy's vocabulary. He's had a couple trash games. Why is that my choice? He's had a couple rough games. Let's be more friendly than that. He definitely like messed up the BDS game. That was bad. He had another game where he was a little bit underperforming. So it's like weird that they're holding on to the humanoid Razork versus the world narrative, especially because Jun has been good. Don't get me wrong. I have concerns about Noah. I have concerns about Oscar. They have good games. They have bad games. But like, it's not just humanoid Razork versus the world. I think that's unfair to Fnatic.
This is now the question for me: is this actually the team that gets nerfed the most by Azir coming back? Because I think they were really good in their 2v2s, like playing stuff like they are in that. But I also think they were a team that relied a lot. Well, not relied is probably the wrong word, but like were really good at using the Talia and like finding picks in the map, not going for team fights, that kind of stuff. They were looking for picks with the 2v2.
But,
and now that Azir's back and they play it, do they have that same strength in the 2v2 to actually just look for picks and avoid team fights?
At the same time, not to back this guy up, because I don't think Fnatic fans will appreciate his tone. Even if analytically I can see why you put your center of attention on mid jungle. But won't it be nice when Humanoid plays a champion where he can solo carry the game?
Yeah, I was going to say, Humanoid is sick on Azir.
I was going to say, I don't know how I feel about this karma stuff for a lot of teams, but I hate it for Fnatic. If Humanoid cannot carry a team fight by himself, if you're not playing a pick where he has that scaling or that reliability to really carry a fight, I feel like you are not getting full value out of Humanoid. I don't know how you feel, but like when I see Fnatic locking Karma Finn, I'm like, they have just made the game much harder for themselves. Like this is the guy who's clutch for me on Fnatic.
That does not seem scary, yeah. Humanoid Azir is very good though.
Yeah, Humanoid Azir is scary.
This isn't a saying Humanoid is bad at Azir. Yeah. It's just when I actually think of Fnatic games, I don't think of them team fighting. I think of them finding picks and then snowballing off of that.
But Azir shuffles. Azir does it all.
That is fair.
Azir mostly will probably be perma'd this entire week, I imagine. But
who's Fnatic playing?
Fnatic is playing
GX, right?
against GX.
Yeah, I mean they should. They should win that, right?
Yeah,
probably.
I mean, we'll talk about it in a sec. Don't give away too many of your predictions.
I actually think Fnatic is really, really good right now. I think sure they have like
I agree. Yeah.
They have like maybe some issues, but if your support mid jungle is that strong, you're gonna be a good team.
You're a good team
for sure. Like support mid jungle, magic happens. Like I don't know.
I agree. I think Fnatic is a full force. I think if you want to talk about Noah and Oscar and problems, I think they're there. I don't think that Razork, Humanoid, and Jun are above that, but I think they are the strongest members on the team. Yeah. Bustering out like the fraudulent team that they are is a really funny statement, though. I'm holding on to that.
Yeah, I think they're still going to look very good.
Yeah, I think so too, but I'm going to remember this just in case. We'll bring it up for the Fnatic fans. Maybe they'll click.
I do love the idea of you calling out a team.
Ducky.
They're bustering. They're bustering.
I'm bustering. Maybe Fnatic will get the cheeky tweet at the end of whatever series they win. It'd just be like Dr. Ducky bustering out like the fraudulent hater that he is. Who knows? But I mean, if you have concerns around the people outside of jungle mid support, I get it. I think it's fair to have questions about Fnatic. I still think they're one of the best teams though, and I think that they're favored to the surprise of none. Thanks to everyone who submitted questions. Let's take a look now at the playoff bracket. Let's start with Fnatic GX because we just came off of Fnatic. So this is Fnatic obviously picked GX. Again, for those who don't know, so the draft didn't happen on stage. It still happened in front of all the teams. All teams were called in. I made sure to confirm that with our competitive operations team, just to make sure that there's nothing suspect. Trust me, if the league wanted to do anything suspicious, it would be make sure that K-Corp continued to play. Kometo viewers, please stay. But that's just not happening. But there were a lot of people I know frustrated that the draw didn't happen, but the draw was, all teams were called in. All teams could see the draw happen. And of course, if you are first or second, you're kind of put into a respective pool of teams, and then you get to draw from the bottom two teams in that pool. You get to select who you're playing against. So in this case, Fnatic picked GX, Vitality picked SK, which as a result put G2 against MDK and Team Heretics against BDS. But Fnatic GX is our first matchup. So what I will say in defense of GX, because I imagine the Fnatic is probably the favorite here, is they had a great week overall. They had a 3-0 week, right? They looked good. And for the first time this year, Ignar and Peach looked really good together.
Patrick Nala, baby.
Patrick Nala against you guys. Yeah, how'd you feel about that game? I thought you guys were going to do more, your bot lane was going to do more in lane against the Nila, but then it looked unplayable.
That was by far one of our worst games ever. That was the Orange Arven, I don't know. Orange Arven, Ari, Cerululu. Yeah, I think it was just, yeah. So Fnatic GX, right?
What did you learn from that whole experience?
I learned that I think GX really, really, really thrives when they have a lot of engage tools. I think they're one of the best teams of the Vi Rakan core that we talked about before, or like Vi Rakan, Rel Jungle.
Rel Rakan, this week they played 2 games of it. It was the best. I think that duo has looked all year.
Yeah. I think even like watching Ignar's comps, like put this guy on engage. Like, please, this guy makes magic happen.
Yeah, it's actually crazy that they tried so much to play these like Ashe Varus lanes or these like range support things.
Working,
and they played it well early game, but like, what are you doing? Like, you get one of the best engage players in the West, and you're just like, give him engage.
Yeah, give Ignore engage, give Rel engage, and I think Odo is really, really solid in lane. Like,
give Peach engage, give Rel engage.
Sorry,
give Peach engage.
Give him Vire or
Give
Rel.
Peach Rel. Yeah. For the one more patch until 14-7. With this last patch, you can play Rel jungle.
Probably like he still has Sejan and Maokai like down in his left and right pocket. Like, it's fine. He will find something, I'm sure. And then I think Odo is really solid. I think Patrick is really, really good, and I think Jack is doing fine. I mean, I can see GX doing fine in playoffs. I don't see them beating Fnatic maybe, but
I just don't.
I think you just need to be cleaner.
Well, they can be cleaner, but it's like if we just match up the strongest points on the map, it's like. I look at top lane, I'm like, yeah, I have questions about Oscar, but do I believe that Odoamne is going to smash that lane? Like, it could happen, but it could happen the other way as well.
I mean, last time Odoamne played Renekton against Oscar Orn, and it was not a good time for Odoamne Crocodile. He got turned into a leather jacket pretty fast.
Yeah, it was not good. And then in bot lane, it's like Noah, Patrick are the other kind of question mark right there. Yeah. And it's like, I actually think Patrick is better, more reliable. Noah has good games, but at the same time, it's like, that's AD. Like, I think support, probably close, you could say. Ignore and Jun, probably close. But jungle mid, again, going back to the strong core for Fnatic, it's like clears.
Yeah.
100% clears.
But it's even just how many times I've seen Peach like wander into river without the Ignar and just get completely caught.
No.
And it's just like there's the link between Jun and his jungler is way stronger than it is with Ignar and Peach.
Like Jun plays for it. Like Jun will go wherever he's needed, right? And I think
that's what I mean.
Not that Ignar won't, but it's just like Razork is good. Razork's one of the best in our league, and I think Peach is
Ignar will go. Yeah, and that's the thing. Ignar will go and get the ward, will get the deep ward, whatever it is, but he will go alone. Whereas when I look at like Razork and Jun, they are working as a team to get the vision that they need, and they will find the pick together as a unit. And I think that's where the big difference for me is going to be, is just how well that trio that we already talked about for Fnatic work together.
Yeah. It's all about mid jungle, I think. I don't know if Jackson Peach can like cook them, so like Maokai Yon, some Sejan Aurelias, I don't know, like maybe they can hit him in the draft department.
Yeah.
I mean, Yak has had some decent Yon games, I think. I remember.
He's had one good Yon game and two really bad Yon games.
So
there was a Yon game against Niski, I think, where he whiffed 3 ults and 1v1s, I want to say. Maybe it was 2 ults.
No, he didn't.
No. That was the last split. Yeah. That was winter. But I'm excited for the Jackie's Yon, but I don't think that it's hit quite the way that they wanted to yet.
I mean,
the MDK game, I think, is where he got to play it.
We will see. We will see. But I think that is like what the GX biggest hurdle will be. To conquer, even not Razork, but we'll see. I think
it's definitely super tough. What is your take on now that we're here and actually focusing in on it? Like, what is your take on Oscar as a top laner? You talked about obviously last time they played. What do you think about him overall? Like, I think his Cassante has been super good, but I've seen games. The game that keeps coming to my mind is the game where Razork is ahead on Volibear. Gets Oscar this fat individual lead.
It was against Heretics, right?
Yeah, and then he just doesn't really do anything with that. And Heretics, that's the game where Spyro like plays Nico and murders everyone because Fnatic just keep not counting the minions, which, happens to the best of us. But I don't know if I should expect more from Oscar. It's hard for me to get a solid read on this guy because there are games where he looks great. Every time he builds a support item on Cassante, 3rd or 4th item, I love him a little more because it's just, I love that. No. He's just exploiting how good support itemization is. Oh, get your lockets, Cassantes. It's so fire. I love it.
I feel like Oscar is kind of getting molded into a tank player, the European style classic. Get a rookie top laner, mold him into a tank player over the course of 2 years, and then leave him in the dirt.
Yeah, what was your champ pool again when you came in? Was it like Aurelia? Oscar. I was just like, what did Finn used to play?
Kiana top.
Kiana top. You used to play Aurelia. You used to play Kled. You still play Kled on some occasions.
I miss Kiana top. That was so fun.
Bro, I'm just saying we just all over time transform our top laners, mold them front to back, only front to back.
It's like never play mold, just put them in there, squeeze out 2 years later.
Wave, sack plates, wander mid with Ornn.
Santa Ornn, Gnar. Wow.
Just hearing it in your dreams.
They're just playing it to you at night. They're just whispering it to you.
I mean, when I think of Oscar's best champions, I think of like Cassante and Poppy. Those are like he has good gank setup for Razork. Razork is really good at finding top angles, ganking top like from lane or just finding cool angles. But I think Oscar really I think he needs to do his job in this team and let the other guys kind of pull the heavyweight. And I think if he can just do fine on his lane. He'll be fine. I don't see him as like a big carry threat right now. Obviously, he has like the K'Sante game against G2, like where he kind of demolished Broken Blade in the Gwen matchup, but that's still on K'Sante. I mean, his K'Sante is really good. I do think like we have to see more than just his K'Sante until we can rate him higher.
I agree. And speaking of G2, let's shift ahead. But before we do, actually, really quickly, predictions. Everyone just in the Fnatic side of thing.
Yeah,
I think so. I think there's a world where like GX just continue their good performance and Fnatic struggle a bit. But I think if both teams come in full force, so just Fnatic are better, and they match in the role. They're better in the roles that have the most agency early game. And
I'm don't get me wrong. I can see GX upsetting Fnatic. Like I don't even think it's that like crazy of a belief to think GX can win this, considering their recent form. And I think it really is like if Peach and Jackis can find up a way to deal with it, I think GX has actually stronger sides. In my opinion, that might be a hot take, but I think GX top and bot is better.
You think GX top and bot is better? Odo more? I would say that I can see that because Odo's definitely been even though in the context of the fact that Oscar got the better of him last time, I think Odo is still someone I would look at as more reliable, and I think Patrick is really good.
Yeah,
I think Patrick is very, very good, and we've said this about Patrick for years, and I would love once for it to just materialize in placement. Because it never does. But like everyone knows Patrick is good, right? The problem is it never turns into anything. I think having Ignar by his side though is a really good start. And I would love one time for Patrick to get to pop off.
Yeah.
I feel like we've all been like Patrick merchants on broadcast for years. Even the pro players in interviews, Patrick is good. He, what makes me sad? I think he's our new generation of Nuke Duck, where like every single player is like, this guy's great, but then the results just aren't there.
Yeah.
They're like, oh, in scrims this is a top 3 mid laner. In scrims this is a top 2 AD carry. Like when people
That's
talk
so funny
about
that
Patrick.
we played on both those guys on my team in Exo 2022.
Yeah, it's literally like
and we're like, oh, in scrims we're like the beast. Everyone's saying Exo's gonna get deeper in the playoffs, and then
I remember in podcasts in the past when Perks was on and when Perks was like top performer in his role, every time we'd bring up anything, he's like, you have to talk about Nuke Duck. And I was like, what are you talking about, Luca? This man's like at the bottom of the table. Why do you keep telling me about Nuke Duck? And I feel the same way now when I'm bringing up Patrick, but I think he's there. He's so good. If the team can support him, if they can make it happen, it is possible.
Patrick is so elo-held, man. Like.
Patrick is so... I'm just that guy. Where's my comment? Yeah, I think GX absolute fraud's just going to bust her out. Peach and blah, blah, blah. The core of the team, Patrick. Whatever. But yeah, I want to see Patrick succeed so badly on a personal level.
I did it to himself after the name change from Sheriff to Patrick.
Yeah, he should have been the Sheriff,
Dude, you can't name change from Sheriff to Patrick. Like, what is wrong with you?
It's Sheriff. We need Patrick. Sheriff back. Sheriff made me say the F-bomb on air.
Sheriff Freak is 64. Like, bring him back.
Bring it back. We need the Sheriff, You're the deputy right now, Patrick. We need the Sheriff. Bring it back. That's our request.
It's the Sheriff.
If you think it's not that close, give me a percentage, right? So like 50-50 even could go either way. 60-40.
I'm going to hit it with a strong 33.7 that GX can take it.
That's not super GX favorite. That's not bad. That's not terrible.
Yeah, 33.7.
Okay. Yeah. 33.7.
Why not 0.6?
I mean, I just think
ruthless follow-up. Just trap him in his nonsense. Whatever. just murder his joke. Just don't let him free from this moment. Trap him here forever. I 60-40, sure. Let's just say
I think 80-20.
You think 80-20? That's super favorite to Fnatic.
Yeah, I think Fnatic.
Why not 21?
Why not 21?
Because I think there are times when they step up, I'd actually maybe give it a 0.6 in a bit more if I had another.
Stop both of you. All right, let's move on. 80-20, 60-40.
Decipher the decimals.
Yeah, like figure out 33.7, 20, whatever. I can't. Guys, please.
Is the 7 recurring?
No, stop. G2 versus MDK, our next one. I think this is the one where, this is where G2 feel bad that they didn't get first, because I think this is a much harder first opponent than they maybe would have liked to play. That said, part of the reason I say that is because I'm optimistic that MDK are going to find their footing again. Ooh. But they've kind of been a hot mess. Yeah. Despite Supa's interviews where he's like, I'm the best, I clear everyone by far. And shout out to Supa, I like that he's got the confidence to say that kind of stuff. I prefer players who put their foot on the gas instead of backing off at the first sign of difficulty in terms of public whatever. They've been a hot mess this split. It's been rough.
Well, I'm a lot more hesitant towards MDK.
Huh?
I'm way more hesitant towards MDK's.
You think so?
Potential.
How do you feel about Mirwin? That's my first question.
I think Mirwin. I really like Mirwin as a player. I think it's really cool that he comes in places and stuff. But I think on meta champions and common matchups, I think he's just a bit weaker than other tops right now.
Yeah, I think he looks like a demon when he gets a counter pick or a weird pick.
Dude,
when he got to play Nico
I'm terrified of his Varus, dude. Like his Varus is
clean.
That's very scary. But mirroring like Aatrox Gragas matchup or like Nor Renekton, like I think he has a lot of room to improve there. And I feel like it's hard to get your champions this frequently in good situations. Like unless you're permanently watching LoL Dobby, like I wonder like when the AP Shake was coming out from him, like that's the reason.
Yeah, shout out Lol Dobby.
Lol Dobby the GOAT.
When the Rek'Sai came up in pro instantly.
He is just the Metamancer.
Instantly in the Casher Discord.
Yeah.
Lol Dobby, Lol Dobby, Lol Dobby.
He is the Metamancer. He shapes the meta.
Yeah.
And the latest video was the
They'll
AP
have to
Shake
invite him to the council meetings with the Shy to decide how they're going to ruin our solo queue next.
What do you mean he is the Shy? he's just pushing
Just
up.
the back
As
of
soon as
the-
the Shy left, that's what he took over.
It's actually genius. That's what you need to do is you just find a YouTuber who your coach really respects, who makes good analytical content, and you just like slip him a 50. Yeah, that's crazy. It's this guy just made this video on Aurelia is so good. Finn, do you think you could play Aurelia in scrims this week? You're like, well, I guess if you're asking me, I mean, if I have to, sure.
Also the opposite kind, like if you know enemy team is watching all these videos, it's like slip him like you should really tell them that Yumi top is coming in hot.
Yeah, Yumi top.
What's
There's a
that build?
Korean one trick.
What's that build you were telling us about before we came on? The Eclipse Collector.
No.
I'm basically like I like to dream. I dream a lot about League of Legends, right?
Yeah.
It's my life.
Yeah, you
But
dream.
I like to dream up item builds.
Okay.
So like one time I dreamt that I got a pentakill with Aurelia in my dream, and this was the old build where you went like the old Essence Reaver, the old Collector, and then you went Duskblade third. Logic being that Collector with Q reset, like if you collect them with your Q, you get the reset.
Yeah.
And then you turn Stealth with Duskblade, and then you can do it again. And then you're like full damage, but your Duskblade keeps you alive because you can like dodge shot with your stealth thing.
Yeah. How'd that work?
I got a pentakill my first game. I never played it ever again, but that was a really fun build.
I want to say that's
I did play against the Bows,
You're
so
manifesting
I
it.
might have like gotten an economical increase in the early game that is not realistic usually. But
I will say that is, I did not expect any part of this story, which was one, you dreaming of builds, and then two, you manifesting your dreams into reality.
wait until I bring up my Shrelia Fizz.
Can you dream of me winning the lottery? Can you dream of me? Yeah, like, can you dream of, I don't know. Can you dream of you winning the, like, how much you got to manifest this? How are
I
you?
tried, okay? Like, I'm working on it.
We need to
All
work
right.
on your lucid dreaming. That's
Yeah.
it, just to get it into the right spot.
It's just, Vince just like, we're just bringing back the Greek mythology. He's just like secretly a son of Zeus. He's just like willing things into existence. Whatever.
Zeus, actually.
Yeah. Oh, Zeus. My bad. Oh, yeah, my bad. Okay. Sorry, I forgot. Well,
No, like you get a lot of ideas like in my dreams. Like I thought about Fizz being good at the Twisted Fate top as a counter pick. When Twisted Fate was coming, I'm like Fizz top. Okay?
I can see that.
Makes sense in the mid lane. It's always been the counter pick, and like top sure it works better. Like you rush your Lich Bane, you try to.
all right. We've gotten really off track.
Okay, sorry.
Back to, it's not your fault. I've enjoyed this.
Yeah.
I'm supposed to steer the ship. I'm not doing a good job. We're just
Okay, Captain.
All right. Captain says, let's talk about G2 MDK.
Yeah.
MDK, last split, looked good. One of the best teams in our league. Really insane early game. Mid game shaky, but got better. This split has been a hot mess. I feel like they're yet another LEC team that the second mid game comes around, they just forget how to play League of Legends.
G2.
No, this would be MDK.
MDK. Oh, sorry.
G2 can't play early game. They're different. And we're going to oversimplify every team. G2 can't play early game. MDK playing mid game. Let's just keep
Do
it
the
simple.
checkbox.
I feel like MDK didn't need their engine running. With their engine being Alvaro Elyoya. Like, if Alvaro Elyoya is in their prime, I think they're a solid team.
Yeah.
But if they can't find their angles, then I think MDK just kind of falters around them. And it's like hard for your. It's hard to always be on top, right?
Yeah.
If your engine is like not always work. Okay. I was gonna like make the sound of an
that good or
engine like
bad?
exploding. That
Phil, I'm going to need you to clip those out for
Yeah, yeah.
reasons. Just every sound effect Phil has done.
Yeah.
Or sorry, Finn has done.
Yeah, but if they're not in their best, I feel like MDK kind of struggles. I feel like they really rely on those two to lead the game, and I think it's been a tough spring for them so far.
Yeah. It's a weird matchup because I feel like MDK looked terrible for most of the split. Not terrible. It looked, mediocre, I would say. Definitely not as good as we expected them to. And then they kind of ramped it up in the last few games. Kind of. And then we have G2 who bombed the last two games.
Yeah.
How do you, because you beat them, and I don't want to undermine your G2 victory by you being like, they were bad or they did something terribly or they griefed in this
I
or
just
whatever.
think G2's last two drafts were like, I don't know how you get on stage and you play that.
Yeah.
I'm gonna flame them because Mickey, when I was with him like after week 2 and we had dinner, he was flaming our draft so much. He's saying, "You guys draft so bad," and then we go against G2 and they draft Ivern, Karma, Rel, Smolder against us.
That's a weird one.
And this boy has the audacity to yap in my face about drafts. Like, I don't know. Like, have you watched G2 last year? I
Make a note for the Finn Mickey episode. We gotta bring it back.
Yeah, I don't know like how this went through the draft of the draft. Like even like I don't know how this made it to stage. Sack blind pick, Ivern, Rel, Karma, mid jungle support. Like I think G2 is just gonna. I think G2 is just really really good, but they're not gonna draft like this in playoffs. I think they're gonna stump MDK. Honestly.
Yeah, I think it's easy to give them the benefit of the doubt and easy to assume. So you feel like it's mostly just draft? Because I
think G2 was the team that like got hurt the most by Smolder being so relevant in the meta. As like what I said before, like the fact that you first pick an AD carry that's kind of losing in lane, while G2 really relies on their bot lane stomping a lot. I think that's like G2's strongest point. Is like and of course Caps being Caps. Yeah. But their bot lane is very, very strong in lane. Hansama always wants to draft for himself, like have a strong matchup, and he snowballs better than any other AD carry in the league with his lane lead. Hansama like becomes from this quiet, timid guy, and then when he plays Draven, he becomes the commander of the ship, Captain Commander Hansama. Tell me where to go. I will be in front of you, behind you, wherever you need me. I will follow you to the depths of hell, Captain Commander Hansama. I think that's when Hans is like he's thriving in this when he has a strong AD carry matchup, and I feel like Smolder being the meta like hurt him a bit. I also think that's why G2 like maybe it's not the best Seri team as well. We'll see what happens if they will play Seri, but we'll find out.
Yeah, it's been a question a couple times in the last 2 years of G2. Like sometimes usually there's one meta champion that they just don't really play. I think last year was Aphelios. They finally did kind of pick it up, but Hans never looked as comfortable as a lot of other people. Like I think.
I always thought Aphelios was one of Hans's best champions.
I think it was the Xayah he struggled on.
No, I remember the Aphelios games being bad. But like I might not have been looking at me. I'm just like, he has wrong guns all the time. Why do they keep fighting wrong guns? Maybe that was a G2 issue, not a Hans.
Purple white
issue.
Looks like shite.
Yes, thank you. There you go. Depends on which rotation you're using. There's two, if you're using the Korean one. They haven't updated in a long time, so it's mostly the same these days. But now like Zeri, I think is definitely a question because it just hasn't been a priority for them. They got Kalista in the game versus Vitality. The Leona I don't like, and I hope we don't see any more Leona. Because every pro in the world, when we ask them why Leona, why not Leona, they're like, Merc treads, champ does nothing. Cool, great, got it.
Cool.
There's strictly better options. Got it. Cool, makes sense. We're all on the same page? Yeah. What happens 3 weeks later? Multiple teams are ram jamming Leona from some reason.
But that is like, it's fine, I can drop support. I have like 3 options. I have like Nautilus, Rel, Leona, and you're like,
wait, one of those. It's like spot the imposter.
I think you have 2 options there.
No.
No, I honestly like, just give me Alistar over Leona. Like Alistar can do it. I think he does Leona's job better as well. He has tankier, he has knock up and knockbacks.
He doesn't do any damage though, that's the problem. Leona hits early game, but yeah.
I know.
I get it. So G2, optimism that they come back. MDK have looked shaky. Focus on kind of jungle support for them. This is... Again, because G2 are G2 in the same way that like I think Vitality, where you just kind of never know what version you're going to get. I'm like, there's a world where MDK win this. But I think even if both teams show up full form, heavily G2 favored, I still think. And I don't believe that MDK are instantly going to be back to the form that they were in at the end of winter. So feels like a pretty easy G2 prediction for me.
Yeah, I'm kind of in the same boat. I think especially with the ability for them to just go, hey, we're going to stick Caps onto like Azir or something that scales and stick them in a side lane. We'll
or some weird thing that's good into slow Azir. Down the game. Like enemy teams picking Azir. Yeah,
exactly. Yeah, and I think MDK still have like faults in team fighting and stuff like that. Where if you can just slow down the pace of the game, I think G2 will be fine. And I think that's exactly what they'll try and do.
No.
Yeah.
I think after weeks like this, G2 usually wakes up too. To be honest with you, they like wake up, they look at draft, they reevaluate their priorities, they stop picking stuff like Zach blind top. You know what I mean? Like. I think them getting their confidence shaken and like getting tested is that's always what you see the week before they turn it on again. I'd say 80-20. 80-20 feels safe for me.
Yeah, I'm probably 70-30.
Oh, okay.
A little bit more, but yeah, kind of in and around that range anyway.
I might be 90-10.
You're 90-10 for G2? You have zero faith in MDK. I mean, you were in scrims. Like, why so little faith? You said it's jungle support, they needed to get rolling, but a lot of times they have gotten it rolling.
I think G2 is better everywhere. And unless Alvaro Elioya just
Soup is the best AD carry in our league, though.
I think
engine on full
if it was
force.
a best of 5, I'd be more willing to go 90-10. But I think it's a best of 3. You only have to win 2. And I could definitely see MDK catching them off guard 2 games.
I'm okay. If MDK gets like a crazy cooking draft,
Yeah.
I mean, it is MDK. Like, I don't know. Maybe
I will say, when MDK cooks, I like it. When G2 cook,
I want takeaway.
I won't take away.
I don't know.
It's 50-50
I
because
think
this
that's
split
unfair.
the last few.
Yeah.
No, you're right. The last few
that's
cooks,
unfair.
Yeah.
I haven't liked. The
Yeah.
first Rek'Sai cook, loved it. The
Like-
second Rek'Sai cook, nah, man. Leftovers not as good. The,
I also feel
the
like
Zach
G2
top, first one, great. This one,
Yeah, I mean G2 was really spearheading the meta in winter playoffs. I feel
Yeah,
like
yeah.
they were really at the tail end. Tail end is behind the
yeah. The forefront.
forefront. Yeah, tail end is that. They were in the tail end. They were like in the front run of the meta. They were kind
Yeah.
of dictating it, and I think like you're gonna miss some shots, right? You're gonna miss out sometimes.
Yeah.
I still have a lot of faith in G2 over MDK.
All right. So that brings us to our next matchup: Vitality versus SK. Now, unsurprisingly, if you've stuck with us this entire time, hearing our discourse, Vitality are going to win this.
Yeah.
Yeah. Their bot lane. Finn, you give us your reason. Why is Vitality better? I've got my reasons, but let's hear it from you.
I just think Vitality in the mid game is a lot better than SK, and unless SK has like really really good early games, I don't really see them challenging Vitality. And that is
even
not to say that can't happen, because I think SK's strongest point is probably the early game, maybe, and Vitality's weakest point is maybe the early game. So don't get me wrong, I can see angles where SK just like draft strong lanes mid top and like snowball the game well. They get like Niskions and like some Nikos. He does like becomes mini chickens, flanks, get like 4-man ults. I don't know. Like, there are angles for SK to win, but
I don't know. I thought if I'd seen SK carry more consistently clean games, I'd be like, oh yeah, SK can do it. Because as you say, I think they could find games where they get a lead in the early stages, but I just don't trust them at all.
How big is the lead they need to get?
Yeah. And the answer is it doesn't exist, because BDS they threw an 8K gold lead. So
True, actually,
you know what I mean.
So 9.
Yeah, so they need 9. So 9 is the number that's big enough. I think that ultimately it's like, even if I give both these teams the benefit of the doubt and we say they come in at full strength, I still think Vitality are just much better. But I cannot give that benefit of the doubt even remotely to SK right now. And even then, it's like, if everyone's full firing, everyone's playing great. Oh, my Dots is on his Renata, he's looking super comfortable bot lane, is doing good stuff. It's like, this is also just not a good matchup, because this is one of the teams where I think Irrelevant, who has very often, or who is, I think, the best player on this team.
Yeah.
You're
going against Photon.
You're going against Photon, who's one of the few players in top lane who, don't get me wrong, if they both pick crazy stuff, like Irrelevant can win that. But if it's vanilla ice cream matchup,
If Photon pick Smolder or Action, they're in trouble.
Yeah. If you pick Smolder again, I see the angle. But even in the Smolder matchup, it wasn't about top lane, right? It was that their bot lane just got stomped by Callista.
Yeah. No, but I do like to highlight the jungle matchup. There's like 2 rookie jungles coming in here, kind of rookies, I guess. It's their second split, but first split doesn't count.
I mean, I think rookie.
There's
Douglas
Douglas versus Isma. I think this could be a good matchup to look at. Like, which jungler shows
which coach will get them rel first?
Yeah. Or will Rel be banned?
No, we're probably banned.
Even more likely.
They're probably banned.
Yeah. I feel like Rel ban prio is going.
I feel like
from
once
the
they
split,
see the balance team deleting the champion from the role, they're like, yeah, we should probably play it more.
Yeah.
Maybe it is really broken. Yeah, okay.
Otherwise, you can like pick Rel 1-2 and then still get counterpick support, or just put Rel support, which is like
still
top 3
good.
support. It's just so valuable in draft. It's like, I feel like it's the only champion like you want to ban it as blue side, because you don't want to first pick Rel.
It's one of the only support jungle flex picks historically, which is like conceptually just nasty.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
So
Actually,
nasty.
did it ever happen before? Support jungle flex? I can't even think.
When
about
Gragas got flexed around a lot,
there
was a world, but it was so
Sejuani worlds as
cheesy.
well.
It was it was always cheese when it got. It was not a consistent flex.
And Mickey saying he's the best Gragas, but then he like goes on stage and loses anyway because he's just not that good on Gragas.
It's just a flame Mickey episode.
Problem is, we all know Mickey really well, but if you don't know that, if you don't have that context, we just sound like the biggest Mickey X hater. It just sounds like this man is just catching strays left and right.
They're not even strays; they're headshots.
They're not straight. Yeah, just we are aiming, we are lining up the sights.
Yeah, and he sucks at Magic the Gathering as well.
Oh, he's trash at Magic and
Mortal
Kombat. Yeah, just awful. Even though he can, beat most of us pretty easily. Forget that part. Raz works better at least. Damn it, now I'm sidetracked. Anyway, I think for SK, it's like, I hope for their sake, again, that they can show a good level of performance and that if they do get a lead, that they can just close out a game for their own...
For their own good?
Yeah, for their own good. Because I'm like, if you get another lead in playoffs and then you fall behind, your mental is instantly shattered.
I want to wish that on my worst enemy, that's what you're saying.
Yeah, I would not wish that again. It's happened enough times. The fact that, like...
Swiffer needs hair.
Yeah, I was going to say, it's like the fact that Swiffer still has hair is a miracle. I would be tearing my own hair out. Yeah. He just is shouting obscenities behind the scenes. And that's what's doing it for him. But Vitality, heavily favored. Yes, they are a little inconsistent. But SK, even the games where they look good, they throw them. Vitality, the games they look bad. That's fine. But the games they look good, they play good usually from start to finish.
It's like games that SK should win, they lose. Games that Vitality should lose, they win.
Exactly.
Yeah, and it's so...
It's a match made in heaven.
This is this is 90-10 for me. This is more favored than the G2 MDK lineup. 100%. I don't see it.
I can't agree with that though.
I think if you give them the benefit of the doubt, you're like, oh, SK are going to clean up. Like then I'm like, okay, 70-30 maybe. But like I have zero faith in SK.
I guess you can only judge by like you're only as good as your last games, right? And SK's last games were, I guess, beating us, but before that, not that good.
If we want to like, what I mean, the problem is, like, where do you want me to look to give them the benefit of the doubt? Because this hasn't been a great year, and this split has been truly.
I guess you can only like trust Niski, I guess, because he's always like been at the top of the league. He's always managed to get his teams to the top.
And I wanted to, because for the first 2 weeks, I felt like Niski was the best player, and then in week 3, I felt like he just was running it. I don't know, man. Like running it's too strong of a word, but like he wasn't playing.
He was running it straight down mid.
He was feeding. He was feeding. So yeah, I'm 90-10.
I'm in the same boat. I think 90-10. I think it's
capture narratives, bro.
I'm giving it a 28% chance. 28-72.
You also have no faith. Don't pretend like that's so much better.
That's like 8% that just better. 18.
Good math.
Never do math on
Good math. There you go. That's one of the lessons. Anyway, the last one, Team Heretics versus BDS. This is the closest one.
This is a banger.
This is a banger. This is my favorite series of the week.
Adam versus Wonder, baby.
Adam versus Wonder. I forgot about that. That's a classic. That's a throwback. But also just like BDS do what they do really, really well. And I think that now that Azir is back, like, and the way that people have been playing mid game, BDS, if they make it through early game, they look solid. I expect them to fall back on old habits, but those old habits are good. And Team Heretics have been looking better and better with Trimby. This is one of the ones where I'm like, yeah, you can pitch me anyone winning, and there's an angle.
Also, just Lebrov versus Trimby is such a sick matchup as well. Like, I think that one is actually going to be really interesting to see, like, how Lebrov tries to match Trimby on roams and stuff, like, how he links up with Shale. Like, there's so many different parts across both these teams that I'm genuinely really excited for.
Yeah, I think this is also a great opportunity for Lebrov to really, like, get into playoffs on a good note, because I think that a lot of the games that he played towards the back half of the regular season were rough. It's not entirely his fault, but... yeah, the support matchup's a banger. Mid lane's exciting because I think Spyro has looked mostly really good on Nico, but I'm curious what he looks like when Azir is back, because I think that's like this. We're back to the real LEC mid lane meta. Like, how will you mostly Azir and things that go good into Azir?
Is this a facade? Like,
I mean, I'm just like, I think that the Nico a little bit less, maybe less of a priority with Azir back, but I think those have been his best games. I think it's been solid, and I think Jankos has been on a tear as per usual. So this to me,
when he's on time.
Yeah. I mean, when he shows up, when he's not lost in traffic. That broadcast segment was so funny. They're like the zoom in on the cab to see exactly how far on the tweet.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. So if Jankos attends this game, and they don't have to sub in Coach Kire to jungle, I think that.
And they have all their bans as well.
And they have all their bans.
Yeah, that helps them.
Unless there's some mental strategy to give up the ban, to bait BDS into a false sense of security. I'm slightly Team Heretics favored.
I'm actually the opposite.
You're slightly BDS.
I'm actually on team basically dragon stacking. I think BDS are really good. And I think Adam, he will do really good top. I think BDS bot is solid, and I think Nuke and Shiva will do better as a unit than Jankos and Spyro. Spyro?
Accents are hard, man, because it's hard to tell. Because a player can say how they pronounce their name, but if they say it with an accent, it's like, okay, cool, I think I get it. But then if I walk up to Spyro which is how I understand. I have a video of him pronouncing it that way, so that's how I've been pronouncing it. And I say Swyro or Swyro, and he goes, "Yeah, it's fine." It's like, well, that undermines my entire expectation. I say it with my normal ass American accent or whatever. So, but
obviously, Azir being back in the meta, I think BDS are just gonna keep doing what BDS does best, which is playing slow, good games around basically dragon stacking, and leave Adam to do whatever he wants to do up there. Like, pick your Olaf. He's picking Olaf into Jace. I thought that was not good. He proved me wrong. He's just going even, and then he's becoming a monster in team fights. I don't know how he does it. Olaf against Jace, he goes even farm.
Against SK, he was so far behind, and then through the power of Olaf, he overcame an 8K gold deficit.
I guess.
That was all Adam's Olaf. No one else was participating in that. It was for sure. Not that they walked in with no damage. Okay, so Rob, where are you then? We're kind of for me, I'm like really optimistic about the top side against Adam. I like Wonder Yankos together, and I think Trimby. I think Flackid is a player who sometimes looks like a passenger on his teams, but I think since Trimby has joined, he's been looking much more included in what the team is doing.
Much more like a driver,
much more. Maybe still a passenger.
Maybe not
Commander Flackid.
Maybe a shotgun seat at least.
Shotgun. He's at least got Google Maps open and he's talking about the directions. You know what I mean? Like he's on the same page.
Turn left.
He's not the kid in the back seat with the headphones on. Are we there yet? No.
iPad, Subway Surfer.
We're getting loose. Rob, where are you at?
I think so. If I'm Heretics here, I come into this and I ban Azir. It's straight up. I just get nuke off of it. And then the big question to me is whether Yankos and Trimby are a better duo to overcome basically Sheo and Labrov. And at the moment, with the way I think it's playing, I think they can get a lead in the early stages. And I think BDS has been less consistent in their dragon setups or in their objective setups as of late. Now, no, we've kind of talked about them like changing their style and their drafts and all that kind of stuff. But even when they get their style, I think they've been less consistent in the way they set up objectives.
Yeah.
And I think Heretics have been really good at punishing teams who do that. So I'm giving like a 52.38% chance that Heretics win this game.
That's a very slightly favored.
It is very, very slightly
52.38.
Yeah.
Why not 52.39?
No, stop it.
I don't know if they're going to ban Azir.
It shifts right back into BD. If they don't ban Azir, we're right back to like 37.3 for Team Heretics. There's a lot of.
I just feel like maybe the meta will shift more into Orianna Azir way with a tank jungle in playoffs. There's going to be like Orianna Rels. There's going to be like Azir Sejuanis, there's gonna be Waze and Maokai's, Jace Maokai as well. Maybe it's coming back. It looked really good against us when SK played it.
And I mean, when BD in that circumstance, BDS have always looked good.
That's what I feel like as well.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm not sure how good Swyro is on these control mage matchups. He's not been in LEC for too long, so maybe he's not that experienced in these against really solid. Because like playing Orianna against Azir against an ARL mid and like against like Caps or Humanoid or Larsen, it's very different. So maybe, and Nuke obviously has been here and he showed that he can do it like at a high level. He's gotten to the finals.
He's had a really good year so far.
I think Nuke has been really good in his matchup. So I wonder if Swyro can actually. I think maybe this is where BDS gets an edge over them in my mind.
No, I think that's a good call.
Yeah.
I will say on the side of BDS, I also I think Ice is still really good and really reliable in a way that I think Flackid has shown in some games but hasn't been as consistent. That said, I think right now Trimby's doing much better than Labrov. I think Labrov has had some real stinker games this split. He's had some good ones too. But my biggest concern for this series is these are the two biggest Thresh merchants in the league. And I
love them for it.
Hate this champion so much. This is the biggest coin flip. Like, you want to talk about the Karmas and the Lucians? Thresh is the Lucian of support. This is that champion that, in the right circumstances, looks goated, and people are like, "Oh my god, he's Lantern, he's hooking, he's boxing," and then you watch him fall behind against the Nautilus, and this champion looks so useless, it's unreal. But if there are tanks in the jungle, it is more acceptable because then someone can face check.
Yeah. I just feel like I can't judge Labrov that much worse than Trimby because Trimby has Jankos and Labrov has Shiva. I think there's a big discrepancy there maybe. I think BDS, Heretic's strong point is definitely Jankos right now, over BDS.
Yeah.
That's the biggest PowerPoint presentation that they can have over...
Yeah. And to be fair to Labrov, I think that in some of those drafts, he just wasn't set up for success. Some of those Blitzcrank games, as good as Blitzcrank looked for a lot of teams in winter, were just
meh.
like you could hit a miracle hook, but 9 times out of 10.
Okay, but he puts himself in those angles.
No,
like he chooses to play Blitzcrank in hard Blitzcrank games. Because he's good at Blitzcrank. But you can't like say, oh, it's fine. He just plays Blitzcrank in bad Blitzcrank games. He chooses to play Blitzcrank.
Yeah, but it's like how much of that blame is him versus coaching staff. But obviously,
no, that like a player chooses to play Blitzcrank. That's not coaching staff.
All right, then I stand by my point. LeBron has had some sussy.
Like a coaching staff will never like
tell a player to play
Blitzcrank. You're hooking them. That is Labro saying, I'm a beast at Blitzcrank. Just give him Blitzcrank. I'm gonna hit all the hooks.
Yeah.
So like if he does that, Giga Chad. If he does that, the opposite of Giga Chad.
Yeah, if he's the one coin flipping it, then yeah. Like I got some questions. I believe LeBron can be really good and has been really good, but I got some questions on the series. All right, close. I'm saying 60-40. Team Heretics. What did you say? You said some ridiculous 52.7 or something.
That's what you said, yeah.
Yeah. What was it? BD, how favorite for BDS?
It's hard to say, right? Like, I can't just conjure up. I'm in 57 BDS, 43.
Oh, okay. Very close, boys. This is the closest match of the weekend.
Very close. Yeah. This is a banger. I'm really excited about this game.
Absolute banger. I'm super hyped for it as well. And that's going to do it here for this episode. Finn, thank you so much for joining us.
Oh, thank you.
What is the percentage chance that you'll come back in the future if we ask you to join?
Dagda's going to have to scrunch those numbers up.
Dagda, what are you leaning on? Come on.
I'd say it's right.
33?
I'm leaning
45?
More towards, maybe strong 30, 35, around that area.
Okay, we'll take that. You know, I don't know if we've earned much more than that. But hopefully there's... I hate myself for this already. 100% chance that you all at home will be watching the LEC playoffs this weekend. Hopefully there's a 99.8% chance because there's a 0.0002% chance that you're hanging out with Finn instead, which would also be pretty dope. What? But probably he's watching the playoffs.
Apparently you're hanging out with folks.
I'm just thinking statistically, how likely is it that someone would hang out with Finn?
How many viewers does this episode get?
I don't know.
You got 2% of those viewers are gonna hang up with me?
I said 0.000.
Oh.
I didn't add enough O's.
Oh, okay.
Oh, okay.
Oh my.
Oh. Anyway, Vitality SK is our first series. Fnatic GX is our second series. Remember that it's Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday this week. Sorry for all like the consistent week changes, but it's all in LoleSports. It's all on the schedule. On Sunday, Team Heretics versus BDS, G2 versus Mad Lions, Koi. And then the rest of the matchups obviously can be decided based on the results of those. So tune in, don't go anywhere. Thanks so much to everyone who watched this episode. Thanks again, Finn, for joining.
Thank you for having me.
And see you this weekend.